I did see what I believe was an unidentified flying object when I was in my late 20s.
My name is Jeremy Coleman, and this is The Next Hour. On today's podcast, my guest talks about UFOs, near death experiences, and his life of reality of facing federal prison in the next month. Everyone, welcome Robert Hicks. Robert, welcome to The Next Hour. For everyone watching, sitting at the house, who are you and what should people know about you?
Well, thank you very much for having me on. My name is Robert Hicks. I'm a new author. I just in the process of releasing my book. It's called the Great Recalibration: The End of Depression, Fear, and Regret. I have done over 27 years of research into mostly near-death experiences. Also have I get corroborating evidence from things like regression hypnosis, alien contact stories, mediums, channels. I try not to get too woo-woo about everything. I try to keep it real as
Yeah,
much as I can because I'm a
yeah.
real person with real problems just like everybody else. And I'm, 56 years old. I'm not a young man, but I've seen some things and I have a lot of world experience that I can bring to the table in addition to the research that I've done. I also
Oh, yeah.
I have a master's in psychology, which I think provides good background. It gives me I hope, the credibility to talk a little bit about depression, anxiety, how to alleviate it. Also, I've suffered from depression and anxiety my entire adult life, been on medication for it my whole adult life. So, so like I said, I bring kind of a variety of skills to the table with my skill set.
Man, that's awesome, man. Something I'd really like to dive into. So, like, what led you to like spend 27 years like researching on all these topics?
It's a great question. Something happened, and I just became obsessed. I was diagnosed with a heart condition in my late 20s, and I had to come to terms with my mortality pretty quickly. I mean, I'm okay now, but at the time, I was scared. I was terrified. I had existential questions, because death is very vague to people, especially when they're young. But when you get something like that happens, it gets real quick. And so I started with a book called Embraced by the Light by Betty Eady. It's a well-known near-death experience book, and that just lit something in me. And like I said, I just became obsessed. I started reading every near-death book I could possibly find. This is pre-internet, so I'm
Yeah,
doing the spiritual section at the bookstore and libraries, stuff like that.
yeah. It's near death experiences, especially right now in today's age. It's very popular online and stuff. And I know exactly what you're meaning, man. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of heart condition did you have?
It was a heart arrhythmia. It's called premature ventricular contractions, and basically it just feels like your heart stops for.
Yeah, I have ventricular tachycardia.
Okay, so you know.
I have a I have a defibrillator.
Okay, God bless you. I didn't even know that. So so you know exactly what I'm talking about as far as coming to terms with mortality real quick and being afraid.
Yeah,
I was.
100%, dude. Dude, yeah. They got me on beta blockers.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah. I take metoprolol.
Yep, me too. 150 milligrams.
Yeah,
It just regulates the heart, and for people that don't know, it blocks the effect of norepinephrine and adrenaline on the heart.
yeah.
And so it keeps your heart at a calm, steady pace, and that's what we need. That's what we like.
Did did they ever talk to you about getting an ICD?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Wow, that's crazy. They put a defibrillator under my arm. I mean, it's like that big, but basically, if my heart ever goes out of rhythm up to 250 beat, whatever VTAC does, it'll shock me.
Tachycardia is a little bit different from what I have. Tachycardia is the rapid acceleration of the heartbeat, right?
Yeah,
So the
right.
arrhythmia is not so much associated with a tachycardia. It's more of a skipping, a stopping, and then it kind of reboots, and you
Yeah,
get like this double beat, and it feels
yeah,
like your heart is comes thumping out of your chest. And sometimes
dude, it sucks.
I, I'm hitting a little too close to home with some of this stuff.
It sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does suck. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, mostly for the fear, just from the fear factor and, the unknown. So that's really what ignited my desire, my passion to find out about what comes after. What do eyewitnesses say, people who have seen and come back? Because to me, it's like I put this in my book. I say it's like you're going to take a test in high school, right? And the
Right.
class in front of you has just come out from that test. What do? Well, if you're smart, you grill them. You say,
Yeah.
what's
Right.
on the test? Is it essay or multiple choice? Is this on there? Is that on there? I mean, they just saw the test, the very test you're about to take. And so I look at people who have near death experiences that same way. They're eyewitnesses, and I want the information that they have. So I know now going into that test that I have that information.
So when did you decide to actually write your book?
Something I had been thinking about for a long time. When I started reading, I was highlighting all the books. I had probably over 100 near death experience books. Then one thing led to another, got into some trouble, had to put everything I owned in my car. I had to leave all my books behind, all my furniture, lived in my car for a while. So I lost all my books. So everything I did was basically off of memory. And but luckily, I had researched enough to where it came out, fairly easily. I think the idea to put the book actually do it came
Yeah.
about 6 months ago, and I'm not sure exactly what the trigger was, but when I decided to do it, I started that day, and
Wow.
I spent 5 to 6 hours a day, every single day, Monday through Sunday, whether I worked or not, just focusing on the book because it was a release for me, and it was also terribly fun. It was just so fun to finally put all these thoughts and all these things because a lot of this stuff you can't talk about in real life because
No, you can't.
near death doesn't come up in conversation when I'm, grill cook at Chipotle. It just doesn't come
Right.
up a lot. And if you start
Right.
spouting stuff left and right, people can get the wrong idea about you. So I had all these ideas and concepts, and it just felt so good. Like I said, a catharsis just to just finally get it all out. And I said, I'm not holding anything back. I'm going to say everything I know. And if I go out, I'm going out in a blaze of glory. And, if people judge me, they want to think I'm crazy or whatever, I said, I'm just going to do it and let it rip and let everybody decide for themselves.
Right. Right. So like one of your more like I don't know, parts of your work that you do that are connection between near death experience and aliens. Can you explain that connection?
One of the most impactful things I ever read was there was an abduction story, and people have their own views on that too. But, there are literally thousands and thousands of such stories out there. What I say in my book, only one has to be true in order for
Right.
an alien abduction to be true. Only one story has to be true. Everything else can be a lie. But if one is true,
Right.
then it really happened. There was a story in a book called The Interrupted Journey by Betty and Barney Hill. Basically, it's a rather well-known book in the UFO community. They were abducted. Somehow in the conversation, they were speaking to the person in charge, the extraterrestrial, and they asked him about his views on God. And this was like one of the most impactful statements I've ever heard. The alien basically said, "Here comes my dog he wants to talk to." The alien basically said, "He's the same to us as he is to you." So here,
Wow.
so here is a non-Earth entity addressing something that we almost look at as like cultural phenomenon or an exclusively human Earth concept that we're special, that we have a relationship with God or God created us and us only. And here's this alien who just said, he's the same to us as he is to you. So that told me that God could not be an individual earthly concept, but a universal concept. And so
Right.
I said, maybe these people who have had interactions with aliens have some insights into what happens on the other side. Because, and whether or not you believe in aliens, that's above my pay grade. But in general, if you do, these beings are thousands of years more advanced than us, and they have knowledge that we don't have. And so I want to know.
Yeah,
I want to know what they know.
funny story. We're even talking about this. This is hilarious. I mean, not hilarious. I mean, it's just crazy we're even talking about it, man, because I actually started doing a little bit of research on aliens. Literally, it was like a month ago, man. And I really dove down into it a little bit. And I was watching videos that they said that they recorded, back in like the 60s and the 70s. And, I saw a lot of stuff, and you see stuff go online all the time. This is a serious question for you right now. Do you think people are actually out here seeing aliens? Like, do you think people are actually seeing them?
I think my personal opinion. Are you asking?
Because yeah, I believe in them. I think it's, you know,
Well,
I do believe.
actually, I included a picture in my book. A friend of mine took a picture, and it shows four glowing craft. It was in Mexico. It was a couple of months ago. She actually put it on Facebook.
Really?
I included that photo in my book. It was just very
Yeah.
timely. But absolutely, I do. It's one of the things I talk about in my book. I did see what I believe was an unidentified flying object when I was in my late 20s. I followed it across the sky for at least 30 seconds. It was
Well,
a solid V-shaped object that blocked out the stars behind it. It was about 1,000 feet over me. It glided almost like it was on a sheet of glass, and
that's
it
crazy.
had no lights. It made no sound whatsoever. And I said, no stealth aircraft, even with the most advanced technology, could fly that low and make not one sound. I called my friend out because he was in the apartment. He saw it too. So I wasn't just, losing it. I wasn't drunk. I didn't even drink back then. So, I definitely believe that, they're out there, and depending on how far you want to take it, some people even think that they're walking amongst us in very human form. So I,
Yeah, I've actually, yeah. Did you see that picture that came out not too long ago with Trump talking to? Said it looked like he was talking. I forget what the aliens, what they're actually called, Nordics or
yeah,
something.
yeah, those are the Pleiadians. They're referred to as the Nordics. They're generally blonde, blue-eyed, very human looking. So yeah, I'm familiar with them.
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty crazy,
I didn't
man.
see I didn't see the picture. I just saw where he stated that he had released a bunch of information, and that he said, "quote Have fun." Now, I haven't gone over that information, and I really don't know what's contained, so I'm not going to claim to. But it would be interesting to see
Right.
if there's anything really telling in there, or if it's more of the same. You know, because I think they still have a lot more information they haven't released to the general public.
Yeah, man. The governments.
Yeah,
They
come on.
they know everything.
Right.
They and it's crazy too, man, when you really think about it, because you don't know, man. I mean, they could be beside us in grocery stores for all we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Another source of information that I have, and like I said, different people are going to take all of my sources, in different ways, and that's fine. I want people to do their own research and evaluate. There is a man by the name of Daryl Anka. I don't know if you've heard of him. He has
Have not heard of him.
he's a Hollywood. He started out as a Hollywood model maker, worked on some very big sci-fi films back in the 80s. He's been channeling an entity known as Brishar for over 40 years now. And
I'm gonna have to look that up.
yeah, the information that he has been revealing has been very consistent. I've tried to apply some of the principles in my life. There's a couple of chapters in my book that kind of focus just on things that he said. So some of my information does come from that source, but I think it's a very good source. Again, if you just Google Bashar, Bashar, he's got his own channel. It talks about Daryl Anka. He's a very normal, completely normal guy. Like he's like, I didn't ask for this, It just kind of
Right.
it just kind of happened. And he does monthly presentations, and he's got tons of videos on YouTube. So I would encourage everybody to go check him out and just listen to him talk and decide for yourself, because
Right.
ultimately that's what
Right.
everybody's got to do. They have to decide for themselves.
Well, yeah.
Evidence is
Yeah.
not evidence if people think it's BS.
Right. Right.
So
So if you had like 5 minutes to explain like the single biggest lesson you've like learned from all your research you've ever done, what would it be?
the most important thing, I would say, it taps into the destiny free will concept. We did indeed plan our lives before we got here. we existed before we existed, and we planned out our lives in detail, the good stuff, the bad stuff, the challenges, the pain, the loss, the grief. We planned all those things because they teach us lessons. There is a there's quite a bit of research from a Dr. Michael Newton, who is a hypnotherapist, and what he did was he started regressing people or taking them back in their life to get at their childhood traumas, right? And what he found was that some people went back too far. They went back to their birth, and then they went back to a time before that too. So
Yeah, their past life.
exactly. And so that's in my book. So, so much anxiety comes from the fact that people just feel like they're like all of this is random. Like what purpose does this all serve? It does serve a purpose. Earth is what's known as a very, very difficult school, and we are here on one of the most difficult environments to learn under fire and to really grow our spiritual muscles in a very difficult environment. So
Right.
I would want people to know that their purpose is not random. It's not a roll of the dice. You didn't just appear here and have all this happen to you. It's a plan, and you're living out the plan. I would also emphasize that, life after death, it continues. Death is by no means the end. I say in my book, your life really doesn't begin until you die. That's when your that's
Right.
when your real life starts. When you realize that you're an immortal spiritual being, and that's your true home. That's one of the most common things from near death experiences. People say, I was home. I felt like I was home. It was my real place, my real home. It comes up over and over and over again. And that's what I look for in those stories, is patterns when people repeat the same information over and over again.
Yeah.
The take home message, if I had to give somebody a paragraph, I would say the most important thing in life is to be kind. That is number one thing, to be kind to other people and treat people how you want to be treated. Because
100%.
when this is all over, there is something called a life review, when you review your entire life. And
Yeah.
it's those little acts of kindness that stand out way more than your career or, what achievements you have in your life.
Right.
It's the day-to-day interactions. Did you treat that person with respect? Did you see somebody who's crying? Ask them what's wrong. Did you help somebody on the side of the road? It's little stuff like
Right.
that. And those moments are paramount. It is very important to be kind to everybody that you meet. If that's all you do, you're ahead of 99.9% of population.
Oh, yeah. So let's touch on this a little bit, man. You said you're getting ready to report to prison.
hmm
How's that really, how's that reality affected your outlook on life?
Well, if I was to tell anybody that it didn't suck, I'd be lying. It still sucks, but I made my bed and I have to sleep in it. I take full responsibility for my crime, and I really don't want to go too much into detail about that. It's
Right.
it's not a 20-year sentence. It's going to be a couple of years. So at my age, years go by like how months or weeks used to. It's like couple of years is like a cup of coffee to me. It's really not. It's really not a big deal. See, I know, but what lets me go into this with my head held high is that I know that this is part of my plan. It actually is part of my plan. It's not some random thing that happened. This is an experience that I chose to go through because I'm going to learn certain lessons. And
Well, you say that you say that. Not to interrupt you,
no, go
but
ahead.
I'm actually, I, dude, I'm not lying. I'm not gonna lie. I'm on an ankle monitor right now.
I had that for over a year.
Yeah, and it's for I got a DUI,
Okay.
second one to be
Okay.
exact. Long story short, they wanted me to do a year in county or something. Anyways, I got a lawyer. I can't talk too much about the case
Sure.
because it's not resolved yet.
Sure. Got you.
But you know, obviously I'm not gonna do a year or anything. But when they first said that to me, man, I kind of had the same outlook you did have on it. I was like, I can't be pissed about it. I'm just gonna go in as a learning experience to see how it goes, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. It is a learning experience. There are because I've been to county jail a couple of times. I did 3 months one time, 4 months one time. The first time I went in was during COVID. We had we
Right.
literally had bologna sandwiches for lunch and dinner for 3 months straight, every single day, because
That
they
sucks.
didn't want to open the cafeteria because they didn't want people breathing on each other. You know what I mean? So we all
Yeah.
got sack lunch. But everybody, nobody is perfect. Some of us have made bigger mistakes than others. But I've met some of the best people in my life as a result of this experience, this bad experience, what
Right.
people would call a bad
Right.
experience, a horrible mistake, which it was. It was. But,
Yeah.
I was forced to get into a drug and alcohol counseling because I'm an alcoholic. And, my drug counselor turned out to be one of my favorite people I've ever met in the world.
That's
And
awesome.
I'm gonna, she's like, you have to keep, you have to email me once you get to prison. I want to keep talking to you. I want to see what it's like in there. And it's like I said, that's just one example. The ramifications of an event you really don't know, but it's important to keep an open mind and learn as much as you can, and try not to repeat it.
Right.
I'm not saying just go out there and be all willy nilly. Try not to repeat your mistakes,
Right.
but we all make mistakes, and sometimes they're really big ones, and then we
Yeah.
got to pay the price for it. I had a
Yeah.
public defender, and she did a fantastic job. By the way,
Did she?
she's one of those people I'm talking about, one of the finest people I've ever met in my life. And she was,
Okay.
I won't give her name, but she was just
Right.
excellent. She was excellent. She would
That's awesome.
find little things and say, well, you don't want to do this, or you can say this, or don't say this. And you never know who you're going to meet as a result of an experience like this. You just never know.
Right.
So just
Right.
keep eyes open and be ready to learn.
Yeah, man. I've actually since I got my second DUI last year, and since then I'm a year and 4 months sober.
Wow.
So
That's no small feat,
yeah.
my friend. That's no small feat. You know what I'm talking about. Because
Yeah. So
for me, it used to be I couldn't go a single day. I really couldn't. I
right.
couldn't go a single day without alcohol. I was over 20 years.
I didn't drink liquor. I drank beer,
Yeah, me
but
too. Me too. Mostly. I drink like 25 a night,
yeah.
you know?
Sometimes I'd have about 15 or 16
Yeah.
a night. I get it.
Yeah, it would start
Yeah.
about 3:30 and end around 3:30 in the morning. It'd be like 12 hours, so really only averaging a couple per hour. How bad is that? But it would
Did they
turns into a lot.
did they put the so what kind of ankle monitor did you have? The Scram?
I don't know the technical name. It was GPS. They could see where I was anywhere I went. I had to get any place I wanted to go, including work. I had to get it approved. So I,
Okay,
I
so
wasn't at liberty to go anywhere on my own. I had to get permission. I had to ask mommy, as I call it.
yeah, mine's not GPS. Mine's a what's it called? It's a Scram. So every 30 minutes it detects your alcohol volume.
Well, really?
Yeah.
Mine didn't do that.
Yep.
I had to do random testing. I had to do random testing with probation. I also had to do random testing at the drug treatment place. So I was getting tested, all over the place, but I did really good. And so they backed it off to from twice a week to once a week, then once every other week. Now I'm on monthly. So I've done really good in that area, but I've never gone more than a year. Honestly, you're talking about a year and 4 months. But if you can get through the first few days, the first week, the first month, and now you're at the first year, and
Yeah.
you know what? It's got to be important to you.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? If
100%.
it's forced from the outside,
100%.
that's going to have limited success. It's got to come from here. Like you got to decide that you know
100%,
you
man.
know
I've already decided I'll never be that version of myself again.
right.
So
Don't you feel better
yeah,
though, like physically?
dude. Oh my god, my sleep's better.
Right. Yep.
No hangovers in the morning.
Yep. I've lost about 40 pounds since I quit
Yeah.
drinking because I was drinking so much beer. So yeah, and my
Yeah.
endurance is better. My social interactions, because when I drink, I get a real big mouth and I get offended
I do
real
too.
easily.
I do too.
I get offended so
I get
easily.
mouthy.
I get very mouthy, and it's not good. It's done harm to my relationships, my personal relationships, and then I look back on it and I'm like, what an a-hole I was, you know.
Yeah,
Things are totally different when when you're thinking clearly.
100%, dude.
But yeah, keep
It
up the good
definitely.
work, man.
I appreciate it, man. It's at first it was hard, you know. I mean, not hard, but it was like the thing is, I'm around it a lot because my family drinks and stuff.
Hmm.
So it's like I see somebody drinking a fucking cold beer, I'm like, damn, that's kind of fucking nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I got started. I wasn't a daily drinker till got into the restaurant business. And we'd go
Right.
after work, we just went out to a bar. You know, once the restaurant closed, we'd go to a bar. And I used to ask
Yeah.
my coworkers, the other managers, I'd be like, we just drank yesterday. We're gonna go out drinking again today. And their response was, and like what's your point? And then that's when I started becoming like a daily drinker. And it just kept going. I guess I have addictive personality. I like the way it made me feel, but you know, at a certain point, it goes, counterproductive.
Yeah, I heard the restaurant business, man. I heard it's they get a little wild.
Yeah. Yeah. It's high stress, it's high temperature, cold beer, like you're talking about after work. So, but I was younger then and it was more of a social thing. And then, I turned into like, what is it, Johnny Cash or whatever, where I just drank alone. I started, drinking alone. I didn't need people around to drink. I actually preferred if they weren't. So I could just be left alone and, drink and do my thing. So it grabs you. It grabs you and it holds on tight. It's very hard to get rid of.
If you don't mind me asking, so what do you know where you're going to be? What prison you have to report to or anything?
Yeah, I know the prison. I'm actually going to one of the prisons in California.
Wow.
It's it's central part of the state. It's called Lompoc. I have a report date, so they actually took my ankle monitor off. Like once they sentenced me, they took the ankle monitor off, and I'm thinking to myself, isn't that when most people would like run? Like when it becomes
Yeah, you could be in Mexico by
yeah,
now.
exactly. Isn't that when it becomes real for people? But I had
Right.
it on for like a year. But so I get to self-report. So I'm gonna, instead of going in shackles, wrists and ankles on a commercial flight of some sort or a bus, God help me with, because you will be chain ankles and wrists for that journey, and they're in no hurry to get you there either. Like if I had to report to the local place here, they'd take their sweet time getting getting me down to the facility. So I'm actually lucky that I get to self-report. I show up, I say I'm here to turn myself in, and I kind of get to do it on my terms, and I get to get my affairs in order as well.
I'm guessing you live in California.
I used to. I used to. I lived in California for about 10 years. Now I live in Washington State.
Okay. Okay. And you said you actually lived in Tennessee as well, correct?
I lived in Tennessee for 10 years. I grew up in Texas in the
Okay.
Dallas area. I was actually born in New York. So I've been around. I've lived in a few states, and like I
Okay.
said, of all the states, I mean, Texas is great. If I had my druthers, I'd probably be back there if I had to stay, but the weather in California is so amazing. I'm glad that that's where I got to go instead of like,
Oh hell yeah, man.
they could have stuck me in like South Carolina or something like that. And
Yeah, you don't want to go there.
yeah, not with that humidity. I don't do the humidity very well.
No.
So yeah, excited about California. But
Yeah,
the stuff,
our podcast is we're actually in Knoxville.
right, right. I remember. Yeah, one of the restaurants I used to work at was actually in Knoxville, and I lived I
Oh yeah.
lived in a small town outside called Sevierville. I'm sure you're familiar with Sevierville, Gatlinburg, Dollywood
Yeah.
area. So yeah, I lived out in those parts. It's really a beautiful part of the country. I mean, Smoky Mountains. Come on, man. It's there's a
Yeah. Sevier County.
That's right. There's a reason why the Smoky Mountains are the most visited national park in America because it is that beautiful. If you've never, been out that way, people should
Man, it is beautiful.
take a trip. It really is. It's very, very nice.
So, where'd you used to work in Tennessee, like restaurant was? What was it
It was
called?
a place called Cozy Mel's. It was a Mexican place.
Okay.
I forget the exit that it was off of. I remember it was by
407?
I remember it was by a big mall in Knoxville, but they actually it belonged to Brinker International, which owned Chili's at the time. I think they still do, but I think they changed the name of Brinker International or something like that. I haven't followed it, but there was only like 12 of Cozy Mills restaurants, and they closed them all now. So
Oh, wow.
it's kind of a defunct thing, but I guess the restaurant business has been in my DNA for a while. So it's a little tough at my age to be a grill cook at Chipotle, which is my current position. But but I pride myself on keeping up with people half my age.
Did
That's mostly what I'm surrounded by.
so? So you're actually familiar with Knoxville, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a minute. It's been probably
Right.
15 years, but I
Okay.
like that area. I love the people, great people,
Yeah.
r-
Yeah, man.
down to earth people.
Yeah, Knoxville. It's a good little
The
city.
people there are real. They're the people in California a little bit different, like little more,
They are
little
different.
more, yeah, to put it mildly, a little more standoffish. They're generally, they can seem kind of rude, but the truth is they're very shy. And if you can get somebody to stop and talk to somebody, they open right up and they're like, where the heck did this person come from? But, but you gotta try, you gotta give it effort. But in the South, people are more willing to just open up, have a conversation.
Yeah.
That's why,
Southern
yeah,
hospitality.
I miss that about the South. I do.
So going back to your near death experiences and stuff. So after like all your research, like what like patterns have you noticed across different near death experiences?
That's one of the most stunning things is the degree to which there are patterns. I mean, people who don't know each other, like I said, so many times come back reporting like a very similar sequence of events. You want me to mention what they are real quick?
Go ahead.
Okay. So most people at the moment when they pass away, doesn't matter if it's slow or traumatic, they'll usually find themselves outside their body. They'll find themselves looking down on themselves from a position above. At some point after that, they tend to notice some type of light and they feel compelled to go towards that light. A lot of people then describe what's called as the tunnel. They describe moving at a very high rate of speed towards this light. Once they pass through this tunnel, they usually immediately find themselves in like a paradise type of situation, like you'd imagine heaven, trees, grass, they see their deceased relatives, they see their animals that have passed. Many, many people have talked about their animals. Some people, they don't find themselves in a garden-like environment right away. They find themselves in more of like a misty area. A lot of people will describe meeting like if not Jesus, a lot of people do actually describe seeing, a being and they're like, I knew who it was right away. It was Jesus. Some people will see a relative or a spirit guide of some sort. They will quickly review their life, have what's called a life review. It's kind of a panoramic, three-dimensional, immersive experience where you don't just see what happened, but you feel everything that happened. And you don't just feel it from your perspective, you feel it from the other people's perspective. So everything that you've done, good or bad, you will feel that. After the life review, typically the next thing that happens is people are told you still have work to do. You need to go back. And
That's so interesting.
yeah. And a lot of people are like, "Oh hell no. I don't want to go back. This feels too good. I feel home. I feel fantastic. I haven't felt this good in, my whole life." But they're told, "No, you have things that you need to do yet and you have to return." And so, reluctantly, they get sent back, and they find themselves, slammed back into their body, squished back into what I call the meat suit, the body that we're inhabiting right now. And they talk about how cold it is and uncomfortable and how they had to squeeze to get back into it and how they wish they could go back. And a lot of people are changed, like they are permanently changed from this experience. People change careers, they get divorces, they get married, they repair relationships with their loved ones, they, pursue artistic things for the first time. They realize that what they thought was important wasn't the most important thing. And, they start following their passion, they start being more kind to people. That's what differentiates it from like a lot of people say a near death experience is just hospital drugs, it's oxygen deprivation, it's endogenous DMT. I spend a whole chapter in my book talking about the skeptic's view of near death experiences. And I
Yeah.
state all the medical things that they say and how a near death experience is different. One of the ways it's different is because the results are more long term. It's not like oxygen deprivation where it's very quick, very transient, and everybody describes a completely different experience. With the near death experience, it's very patterned, it's predictable, and like I said, the effects are long term. And like I said, I spent a whole chapter in my book addressing that just for the skeptics because, I have a master's degree in psychology. Psychology is not just about talking to people. It's about forming a hypothesis, gathering data, analyzing data, drawing conclusions, and then retesting to over and over and over again. It's a science. It's not just talking. So that whole facts based or, you know, evidence based on facts, that's important to me. And so, even anecdotal evidence is still evidence. It's eyewitness testimony. It's good enough for a courtroom. It's good enough for a book. And when you can find, like I said, people saying the same thing over and over again, the corroborating evidence from different sources, then I personally feel good about that, putting it in my book. I don't put opinions in my book. And when I do, I label them as such. I say, I have no evidence for this, but this is my opinion. But I try to steer clear of that. And I view myself more as a reporter. Like I just report what I've seen, what I've read. Because let's face it, most people out there, they're not going to become obsessed and do 30 years of research on a topic. So my job is to distill that information down for them so that they could read one book and basically get what I got in 30 years. That's kind of the idea. There's a couple of different sections in my book beyond just the near death part. Do you want me to talk about it briefly?
Yeah, yeah, man. Go
Okay.
ahead.
The first part is more the near death stuff. How, people have a view of God as, angry and judgmental. He's not.
Yeah.
There's common themes when people get to heaven. There's things they don't see. There's no old man. There's no throne. There's no judge or judgment. You judge yourself. That's the point of the life review. Then I talk about Jesus. I talk about the Bible. I talk about what we refer to as hell and the existence or non-existence of it. And part two is more what I call the recalibration. Talks about things like destiny versus free will, reincarnation, karma, or the lack of, or what I call the non-existent karma. Because people have some very definitive views on karma. I address those in the book. Then I move on to part three, which is what I refer to as my happiness hacks, which are
Yeah.
things like gratitude, forgiveness, treating every interaction with somebody you meet as the last time you're going to see them, the importance of animals, things of that nature. There's 30 chapters overall in the book. It's roughly 280 pages. And so it's basically addressing the issue of what information do people not have that they really need. And then I,
Right.
I try to address why that lack of information is bothering people, causing depression, anxiety, regret, remorse. And then I try to include at the end my happiness hacks to give people real tools that they can use to make a permanent change in their life and not just a bunch of theoretical information. A lot of times, you know, in my book, I would think of a couple of different ways to say it. And then I would say, I want this on a level that everybody can understand. So I didn't go into like using a lot of big words. I'm not going to
Right.
impress people with technical jargon or my vocabulary. I said, I want it on a level where everybody can understand. If I'll be damned if I'm going to have somebody need a dictionary to understand my book because that
Right.
defeats the whole purpose. It should be easily read, easily digestible. And that's what I shot for in my book. Even though it's my first book, I think I did a good job of keeping it on a level, and I included a lot of humor and a lot of personal stories of my life just to keep it interesting. I didn't want a textbook. I wanted more of a life manual. So that was the whole idea behind my book. I wanted to try to help
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, man. I'm actually excited. I'm definitely gonna read it. I'm gonna get on it. I actually sent it to my co-host too on the podcast, so he
Great.
definitely wants to look at it as well. For the people sitting at the house and listening to this on YouTube, can you tell them where they can find your book at?
I made a website just for the purposes of the book, and the website is www.badcanbegood.com. www.badcanbegood.com. The reason I called it that was because of life experiences. Like, we learn more from bad things than from good things. We really do. And so, like the things I've learned going through this whole prison experience, the people that I've met, like I said, sometimes the worst things are some of the best things that, when you see things in a different perspective. So that's why I call the website badcanbegood.com. And on there, you could see the whole book. Right now, well, first, let me say, you could just look at the table of contents. Like, look at the 30 chapters in my book. If that table of contents doesn't interest you, it's not the book for you. Like, just pass on it. But if you look at that table of contents and those are topics that interest you, you will definitely get something out of this book. You can read I put an about the author section in there. I talk all about my life. There's a good introduction where I talk about how I get the information from all different sources, and I name a lot of those sources. So you can get a really good idea of what the book's all about. Right now, it's on, at the time of this podcast, when we're filming it, it's only available on an ebook format. But I'm also, within the next week or so, it's going to be available for print on demand. So it'll be on sites like Amazon and things like that. And
That's awesome.
I'm also finalizing. I'm almost completely finished with the audio version. So I used my real voice, but I used
That's
what's
cool.
called a voice cloning technology. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm actually in school for IT support and AI.
Oh, okay, okay. So you know about 11 Labs?
Yeah, yeah, I know all about that.
Okay. So that was a fascinating process. I spent roughly 3 hours in my closet over here, surrounded by clothes, trying to get the best recording on my phone that I could get, because that's all I have. I have nothing. Everything I own
Dude,
fits in my car.
yeah, I
I
mean,
have no
right.
technology, but it doesn't matter. If you want to write a book, if you want to publish a book, if you can do it. It's just, you don't have to make excuses. I had nothing and I had no experience. And there's nothing wrong with getting a little help from some AI programs, because they,
I love Hey, I love AI.
like I'm not joking. I've used Gemini, I've used Claude, I've used Grok, I've used GPT. I used them a lot until I figured out which ones are the ones. Some of them I like more than others. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've gravitated towards one or the other, but these things, the 2 chapters in my book are about artificial intelligence, because I thought that it was so important, and this is such a revolutionary technology that we're looking at. This is not the new electric knife. This is not a car,
No.
and it's not a cell phone. Those are all tools. When we get to agentic type of AI, that's not so much a tool. It's something that's going to mimic human behavior. And I'm a
Yeah,
little bit worried that we're kind of creating a competitor for ourselves, and we've never done that before. But I do go into that in detail in my book. So I think you'll find that those 2 chapters very interesting.
yeah, you know, but on the AI subject, I do have a little bit, I don't know, man. It's like, because right now it's helping a lot of people with their jobs. It helps people.
Absolutely.
You can use it as a tool. I use it every single day, and I'm in school for AI and I'm in school for IT support. And information technology is not easy, and AI helps me literally with everything I'm doing right now. The only thing that scares me with it is I don't want it to start taking over jobs in the future.
Yeah.
That's the scary part.
Yeah. And okay, now this is my opinion. Like, because I haven't studied this the way that I've studied. I haven't done 30 years of research on AI. Okay.
Right.
But
Right.
based on things like, you're probably familiar with Jeffrey Hinton and Mo Gadot,
Yes, I am. Yeah.
people that used to work at Google, and they got a little freaked out. And then of course Anthropic started. So I'm a little bit concerned. I'm actually very concerned about the future of the job market and how it's going to
Yeah.
change things. I mean, when Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, they asked him, "What advice would you give to a young person?" He said, "Be a plumber." And he wasn't joking. Like they stopped and like waited for him to crack a smile or something. And he said, "I'm serious. Be a plumber." Because, that's one of the best avenues right now if the advancements in AI continue. And when you get self-recursive improvement, where AI is developing AI, whole different ball game. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, it's already there. Yeah, it's already there. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. I mean, it's crazy, man. I mean,
It is crazy. We live in what's going to be a very interesting next couple of years. In some ways, I feel good that I'll be in one of the most fortified bunkers in the United States called a federal prison.
you'll be safe for
Yeah,
a little while.
because if things go sideways real fast and people start losing jobs en masse and people take to the streets, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but
It'll be a war.
it could be. It could be. We're already seeing the pushback on it. Like there's already visible pushback against AI. Because people are afraid. It's almost like in my book, I compare it to immigration because, there are some groups in this country who are very worried about immigration. And I say, you haven't seen anything yet. There are a billion immigrants on the way right now. They all have a PhD and they all work for 5 cents an hour and they work
Hmm.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we've never had that before. And it's coming. And you studying this stuff, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually about to graduate here in like a month, and then I'm gonna start looking for a job.
It's like I said, it's going to be very interesting. I think you're going into the exact thing that you should be. Like, I think there's other avenues than being a plumber, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
uh,
Hey, man.
that
Yeah, I've done construction since 2012 all the way up. My father owns a construction company,
okay.
and not only that, I have 8 years prior in law enforcement. So
Wow. Okay. Okay. Interesting. That's an interesting perspective. You have like a well-rounded
yeah,
perspective on things. You've been on both sides of the law.
I have. Yeah.
That's got to be
So
one of the most valuable learning experiences you've had. I mean, just seeing
yeah,
things from all sides, but that's good because that helps you relate to people.
yeah, man. I went in at early 20s in law enforcement, and obviously at the end of my career, I was arrested, but I see both sides of it now, but honestly, I would never go back into law enforcement ever in my life. It changed my perspective on it. I respect the guys and I respect the people who I used to work for and work with, and I respect the people who had my back while I was doing my job. But
So
being on the other side of it, being on the other side of it looking in, I don't know what your opinion is on it, but I think the justice system is a complete joke.
yeah, I was gonna say if I'm reading the tea leaves here, you saw some things that you didn't think you'd see when you got into law enforcement.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Did you become disillusioned, if you don't mind me asking?
A little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, and, yeah, obviously, there's some stuff I can't say,
Yeah, of
but
course.
let's just say a lot of stuff gets swept under the rug.
Yeah. Well, you live and you learn. And, going back to my book, if you want to believe what I believe based on the experience that I've
Oh,
done,
yeah.
I mean, you set out a path. You're following that path right now. And just because,
Oh, yeah.
there's some wild turns sometimes on a path. Path is not a straight line. That's a complete
No.
misnomer. That's a joke, like you said about the
Hey,
justice system.
my hey, man, my line's crooked as hell.
Yeah, because my life has gone like that. But I tell you what I have learned is I have no desire to have a life of crime because
Oh, 100%.
nothing screws with your life like committing a crime. It
No.
changes everything for the
100,
worse.
yeah, it does, man.
It is so impactful. It changes every avenue because I had to do roughly just between you and me, and real brief. I know we're kind of getting short on time, but I had to do somewhere between 200 and 300 applications to get a job as a cook because nobody would hire me because of my record. I got like three or four different jobs as soon as they did the background check, oh, sir, we're sorry, we're not interested anymore. We've decided to move on to, to other
That's
candidates.
ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, especially with your background and having your PhD and everything. It's stupid, man. And unfortunately, I'm sorry that happened to you. But it's not the end. This is just the beginning for you, man. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna do your shit. You're gonna get out, and you're gonna be good.
You know what? In a weird way, I'm looking forward to it because I've been dreading it for so long.
You're just ready to get it
I'm
done,
ready to get it done. Just let me start. Let me get in there, do my time. I'm already planning my next book because I'm going to write another book while I'm in there. I already know the title. It's going to be called Cell Block Cosmology. And
That's pretty
what I'm
cool.
go-
That's cool.
what I'm going to do is apply the principles from my first book and show how it helped me survive in a pressure cooker of Lompoc Prison in California.
If you don't mind me asking, how long do you have?
Before I have to report, or how long am I going to do?
How long you got to do?
2 years.
Well, that's not bad. That's not bad. They should have good time too, right?
Oh, that's including the good time. It's actually 3 years.
Okay.
But with
Okay.
with good time, and they also do like a halfway house on the other end. So
Cool.
so you
Okay.
can do like the
Okay.
last 6 months of your sentence in a halfway house. So
That's good. Okay.
yeah, they
Yeah, man. It's definitely. I bet you were kind of nervous at first, weren't you?
oh my God. I like, you know, I mean, when I saw that UFO in the sky, I nearly peed my pants, but that's nothing compared to the terror of, facing the justice system. So like I said, I'm anxious to just get in there, get it over with. I'm gonna learn my lessons. It's certainly taught me to appreciate freedom and everything that comes
Right.
with freedom. It has taught me to appreciate the fact that I can go to a store without asking permission from someone when I had to do that for about a year, given me a whole different perspective on freedom and how valuable it is and how quickly it could be lost. So I just wish I could make everybody feel what I feel because I could end crime. They would never want to
You
commit
know,
crime if they have felt what I felt and the fear and the terror and things like that.
something quick on mine too. I was talking to you about how I have the second DUI and I'm going through the DUI shit. Which is funny too because long story short, I was not drunk that when I got arrested. I was not drunk. I wasn't even. I can't talk about it much, but I was not even in the vehicle.
What?
But yeah,
You were driving a vehicle you
that's
weren't even in? How do you do that? You got long arms?
well. It's a
Well, I
long
know you
story.
can't talk about it. You can't talk about it. Okay.
Yeah, but they threw the book at me, man, trying to get something to stick.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't talk about it, but the justice system at the end of the day, they know what they're doing. It's very political. I saw both sides of it. I was in the political side as well when I was in law enforcement, and I hate to say it. And whoever's watching the podcast right now at home, if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe or click off. But it's either when you're in law enforcement, man, it's either you're sucking the dude's dick above you, and if you don't, they're going to push you out.
Wow. I didn't know it was that bad.
Pretty bad.
That's,
Pretty bad.
I mean, that rivals the politics inside jail. I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
for people who haven't been to jail, they refer to politics in jail. What that refers to, that's a very nice word for racism because you got groups that occupy certain tables, they get certain TVs. People, this group can associate with this group, but you don't associate with that group. You don't even ask for shaving cream. You can only ask the other group, and there's so much of that.
I worked in corrections for years.
So
and everything.
I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but most people out there they don't. They thank God they haven't had the experience that I've had, that experience that you've had.
Yeah, but yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and end this now. I appreciate you coming on, my man.
Hey, I gotta say thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah,
I
man.
was a little bit nervous at first, but you're a very easy person to talk to. I would encourage everybody out there,
man.
like, subscribe, share, and if if you want to be a guest on his show, it's not that bad. So I encourage everybody to try to do it. Go out there,
Hey, man, I appreciate you very much.
go out there and write a book if you can. Maybe you write a book someday.
Hopefully, maybe.
Well, keep it in mind. I never thought I'd do it until the day I decided I'm going to write a book today.